Grace Meng, U.S. Congresswoman, and she has been very supportive on the issues raised by the Nepali community during the time of pandemic since last 2 years. Please welcome Honorable Grace Meng.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Grace Meng from Queens, New York. Not this part of Queens, but your neighbor, a little bit east and north of here. It's an honor to be here, and I want to thank my colleague, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, and her team for giving me a passport to come into her district. But I am very proud to represent a significant and very active and very compassionate Nepalese American community throughout the borough of Queens. To Consul General Gautam and to everyone at the GPK Foundation as well, I want to say thank you for constantly weighing in on the needs and the concerns of the Nepalese community here in the borough of Queens. Our borough has been through such a tremendously hard time, especially during this last year and a half or so of COVID. We all remember the long lines outside of our local hospitals, like Elmhurst Hospital in the heart of my district. And I want to thank the Nepalese community leaders for constantly making sure that the community had everything that they needed. We worked very closely with the local community to make sure that in the early days when we didn't have sufficient access to testing and to PPE and to vaccines locally, that we were able to work with our city and our state to get our community what they needed to stay healthy and to stay alive. We know that a disproportionate number of Nepalese Americans were essential workers and healthcare workers as well. And that's why we're still fighting in Congress to make sure that we're passing legislation like the Citizenship for Essential Workers Act. And we still have much work to do. We've been working with many of your leaders, including leaders at the GPK Foundation, to ensure that TPS is extended after the deadline, which is coming up rather soon. We wrote a letter, a couple of us here in the New York delegation, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Senator Schumer, and others as well, to the Biden administration to ask that the deadline be extended for humanitarian reasons, as it affects tens of thousands of people living in New York State and beyond around the country. So we still have a lot of work to do. We are proud that the Biden administration and that the United States was able to share vaccines, much needed vaccines, with people in Nepal, and we will continue to push for equal accessibility for as many people here in New York and across the globe as well. So I just wanted to be here to say thank you to each and every one of you, to say that I know that you've all been through so much during this pandemic, but we will continue to stay together, we will continue to stay strong, and to keep each other healthy and safe. I just also wanted to add that recently in your mailboxes, in the last few weeks, you should have received some money that Congress helped pass legislation for. One is if you have school-age children, something called the PEBT, you should have received about $400 per child. There's also something called the child tax credit. We were very proud as Congress members to be able to write and to pass that legislation. So make sure that you have it, and if you don't, you can call our office. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you once again. Thank you for having me, and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Honorable Grace Meng, for your leadership in the Queens